Hello, this is Flurry Moon, welcome back to my channel. The crane game, claw machines, UFO catchers, whatever you want to call them. These things have been a staple in every arcade, bowling alley, and even malls and movie theaters. Since seemingly forever. But where did these maddening and rigged machines even come from? And why has this game found itself in so many controversies? Lawsuits over unfair mechanics, accusations of promoting gambling to children, children getting literally stuck inside the machine, and even inhumane practices like using live animals as claw machine prizes. With that, we will also dive into some of the rarest, most sought after, and obscure prize claw gifts that collectors are still in search of to this day, some even costing tens of thousands of dollars. This is gonna be a fun one, so let's just get right into it. The claw machine actually dates all the way back to the late 1800s in the US, presumably the 1890s. The idea came from the big steam shovels that helped build the Panama Canal, as citizens were fascinated by the scene. Inspired by these steam shovels, inventors began working hard at sizing the concept down to create a fun game for the general public. These early claw machines, called diggers, were 100% mechanical, as a hand crank was often used to manually lower a bucket or shovel down into a pile of prizes. Although nowadays these arcade machines are typically filled to the brim with decently sized plushies, popular collectibles, and even expensive electronics at times, these early versions provided candies and small trinkets to win. The first official and patented claw machine, however, was the Erie Digger, released in 1926 by the Erie Manufacturing Company. Operated by coins, this was another manual machine that ended up doing exceptionally well at carnivals, as it was both cheap to operate and play, as it didn't use electricity like other attractions. These machines were also used quite often as furniture in decently populated places like hotels, train and bus stations, and stores in order to keep waiting customers entertained. Later in the 1930s, the Miami Digger was released by American carnival operator William Bartlett. This version of the claw machine incorporated more modern mechanics, such as an electric motor. The Miami Digger mostly used nickels as prizes, as opposed to candy and trinkets. These machines were extremely successful and even later utilized prizes for adults, such as cigarette lighters and watches. What did you think I was gonna say, you weirdo? Throughout the 20s and 30s, these machines would be all the rage, and they would typically charge about 5 cents per play. They were everywhere, from amusement parks to literal hotels, and in some cases, special machines were designed for specific hotels to fit the rich and luxurious aesthetic. They would also do this for railroad stations. Anyway, soon technology would rapidly advance, and we'd see that in our claw machines as well. Manually moving a hand crank became smoothly operating a joystick, and the shovel slowly evolved into a claw-like mechanism that could be lowered toward the prizes. If you're lucky, the claw will pick up your gift and you win. Eventually, these things would be everywhere, and not just in the US where they originated from. Japan has become a hub for what they call UFO catcher machines, and actually a couple years ago, the Shinjuku Sega Arcade broke the Guinness World Record for the most crane games in a game center with a whopping 477 claw machines all in one building. Freaking crazy. Speaking of Sega, they actually trademarked the name UFO Catcher back in 1985 with their bright pink, cute design in hopes of bringing in more women and children. If you compare a US claw machine from the 80s versus the Japanese UFO catcher, you'll definitely see a big difference in atmosphere and design. This is for many reasons, partially Japan's love for cute or kawaii things, but also the fact that US arcades actually spent much of the 80s being associated with juvenile delinquency. Parents really began to dislike arcades due to the idea that they would turn their children into aggressive gambling addicts and loitering delinquents. There was also a lot of negative press around arcades during this decade, including a massive decline in game sales. In some cases, laws were even put into place and arcade games were even outright banned in some places, like one town in Massachusetts. Anyway, point is, Sega wanted to take a different approach with a much more inviting, wholesome, and family-friendly look. Many of these machines also allowed 2 players, and this made it so more couples and children would play together, encouraging teamwork and harmony. Sega UFO catchers would make their way to North America and Europe in the mid-2000s, and I do think they changed the game and influenced many aspects of the machines we'd see in the future. The crane game would also find much success in other countries like China, Taiwan, and South Korea. What are we drinking today? I just have a hot black coffee. I'm so freaking boring today, but I've had so much sweet coffee made on my second channel, I always plug it here, that I feel like today I just wanted to go back to the basics with the old man special. It's just hot black coffee. Anyway, the late 70s, 80s, and 90s were probably the biggest decades for this pastime, and it's not hard to see why. Strategically placed in environments that typically see the most kids and teens, like bowling alleys, movie theaters, the mall, arcades, etc., and in a time where we all weren't constantly looking down at our smartphones, your eyes would easily wander to the nearest bright, overstimulating, and captivating game that you could walk away with everything or nothing at all. Without a doubt, the gamble of claw machines is definitely why they're still around today, and you just can't deny the thrill of almost having it every single time. Finally seeing the claw lower onto the perfect spot, your heart racing as you use the last of your coins to get this one plushie you've tried 10 times before, and seeing the prize held loosely under the claw's grasp. It fell. Maybe next time. Okay, one more try. It is absolutely baby's first gambling experience, and the game has found itself under fire in the past few decades for supposedly promoting gambling to children. With that, let's get into the many controversies surrounding the claw machine. With all the fun and positivity that comes with the crane game, we have seen our fair share of controversy and drama. And when I say fair share, just look at the length of this section, and we're probably not even touching the surface here. The first controversy is a bit of a strange one, because before the crane game actually had a fair chance to flourish, there was a serious crackdown that almost ended them for good. Did you know that at a point in time, the claw machine was illegal in a lot of states? In 1951, an act to prohibit transportation of gambling devices in interstate and foreign commerce, or the Johnson Act, was passed by Congress. This forbid the transportation of gambling machines across state lines, and was done so mostly to stop these devices from being shipped to states where gambling was illegal, which was a lot of them at the time. This actually affected claw machines, as the act deemed them gambling devices. Because of this, the crane game became illegal in many states across the US, in some cases the FBI literally destroying them. However, apparently Lee Moss, the new owner of Erie Manufacturing from before, who had purchased the company back in 1946, fought against this decision. Moss and his brother-in-law, Tommy Wells, who were now put completely out of business by this new act, led a campaign to fight against the federal government alongside other former carnival digger machine operators, and it kinda worked. After 2 years, they were able to come to an agreement in which certain types of these machines, specifically the ones that did not use electricity, would be classified as amusement devices instead of gambling devices. However, this definitely changed the game. The machines were now exclusive to carnivals, and there was no more coin slots, so if you wanted to play, you had to go up to some guy behind a counter and give him the money there, and then he would manually turn it on. I don't know, it was a whole thing. Sounds annoying. Money as prizes would also be prohibited, and we would actually never see this again. It wouldn't be until the late 70s that these laws would kind of start to relax a bit, and we would see the return of coin slots and electricity in these machines once again. However, that doesn't mean talks of the game being unethical for targeting children and creating gambling addictions ever really stopped. Although nowadays we have other ways that our children are exposed to gambling, like through in-game packs and skins or blind boxes, or I don't know, the fact that every frickin' app has like a gambling app ad like every other freaking second. These are often compared to gambling because they're all a way in which that you don't know what you're going to get until you've already forked over the money. However, kids do still play the crane game. It might not be as often because of technology and smartphones, and I don't know, do kids even like arcades anymore? I don't know. They sure do, because every time I'm there's a freaking kid at the claw machine. And I have to wait. So I do think the point still stands. I honestly don't think the problem is the game itself, but the fact that the machines are literally rigged, and not in the way that you would think. And this is not only legal, but public information. This is not something they're even trying to hide, really. It's crazy. So let's get into claw machines being rigged. Alongside the promoting gambling debate, claw machines being labeled as rigged is definitely one of the more prominent talking points when discussing the ethics of this game. Over time, operators have found ways to jeopardize the outcome of the game, and this is typically done by making sure the claw has an extremely loose grip, ensuring no matter how skilled the player is at positioning the claw over their desired prize, it will most likely never keep its hold long enough to bring the plushie over to the prize chute. You can typically tell right away which claw machine is one of those by even watching someone else play. This is, of course, done so the customer will play and pay multiple times. However, players have tried their best to find ways around this with various strategies. One trick being aiming for the tag loop of the plushie, which you typically see in Squishmallows, or aiming for the smaller part of the body of the plushie, and players have even coined the swing technique. This trick can be done by moving the claw back and forth or swinging it until it faces the plushie. That's when you click the button, and supposedly this is supposed to get you a perfect position. I'm not sure this technique is foolproof, but I'll have to give it a shot and let you guys know. Some researchers have even resorted to putting together studies on the science behind the game. Brainiac did a short on how to win the crane game, and it involved watching other players and keeping track of how often someone wins. Once you get that number between someone losing and someone winning, you wait until that exact time goes by again and make your move. Like my mom's gonna wait that long for me at the store. This is based on the idea that claw machine operators can program the game to only allow the player to win after attempting a certain amount of times. This implies the owner allowing the setting to alter the claw's grip to have a loose grasp until the game has been played X amount of times, and then is programmed to work correctly on the umpteenth time. And this is not just a theory, this is literally a fact. In many cases, the machine will even randomize the time the claw functions properly, so you can't even conduct experiments like this anymore. This is actually mind-blowing. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who didn't know this. I don't know, we all know these games are rigged. I feel like I've heard it my entire life, but I don't know, I had always just assumed it was rigged in the way where like every claw machine just is super loose. You know what I mean? Like the grasp is really loose and you're never gonna get it. I had no idea it was this calculated, you know? I don't know, maybe I should have known that, but I've never had it laid out for me like this. I always just assumed every time I won, I just beat the odds and outsmarted the scammy machine. But no, I did not beat the odds. The odds played out exactly how they were programmed to, and I will never be the same. Will I go waste my money anyway? Well, yes. And it makes sense. I mean, if these games were programmed to never allow the player to win, people would catch on and just never even touch the freaking machine. We wouldn't entertain it anymore. But by giving them a taste of the win, we're more likely to try just one more time every single time. It's genius, and it's annoying, and I hate it. But yes, I hate to be the one to deliver this information, but the claw machine is only programmed to work fairly around 10 to 30% of the time. I know, you guys. Does anyone else get this freaking little freaking stupid curl? I can't. The hair wants to be curly so bad, and I'm just not letting it happen today. With that, players over the years have complained and bonded over the fact that this game is freaking rigged, but one frustrated player took it one step further. In 2024, a man sued a San Francisco arcade after losing $50 to the quote-unquote rigged machines and only winning one plushie. He also compared the arcade to a quote-unquote casino for children, and that the game is, quote, developing the next generation of problem gamblers, unquote. Plaintiff was very frustrated because after spending all $50 worth of his credits, he only won one stuffed animal. Even though Wait, he wrote this himself? Stop, wait, I just realized Zoo is him. He's talking about himself in the third person. I think he represented himself in court, so this makes sense, but listen to this. He wrote this. Even though he believed he had impeccable aim and control of the claw's positioning. Anyway, what's crazy though is after digging a little deeper, it turns out this man literally has 40 open lawsuits in San Francisco, 36 of which were all from the same year. Bro just straight up sues everyone all of the time. It's insane. Anyway, those are the major debates surrounding the game, but let's get into some standalone incidents that have occurred around this beloved game. And you guys, this gets so freaking crazy. Get ready. That's all I have to say. Kids getting stuck inside the machine. All I have to say is this happens way more than you'd think. May 21st, 2005. Trapped babe freed from Indiana Toyland. James's mother, Danielle, said they had paid an early morning visit to a Walmart in this northern Indiana city because he had been sick and was sleeping odd hours. After she denied him money to play the vending machine game, he threw a juice box and climbed into the machine while his mother picked it up. Within 2 seconds, he had climbed through the hole, into the chute, and pushed the door shut so we couldn't get him out. March 28th, 2006. And who says I want to be rescued? A 3-year-old Minnesota boy crawled through the discharge chute of a toy chest claw machine at a Godfather's Pizza. What is Godfather's Pizza? Ending up on the other side of the glass, surrounded by stuffed animals. Rescuers had to pry the door open to get Devin out, though the boy was in no hurry to leave. There's even this video from 2008 of a young girl climbing inside the claw machine while her parents have their back turned. The security camera catches the whole ordeal, and it's actually quite wholesome. This other story from 2008 is so chaotic. The Daily Telegraph says, Toy Story 2, another boy stuck. Our story of a 2-year-old boy trapped in a vending machine after crawling up the prize chute caused a sensation, and now we can reveal another toddler caught in the same pickle. The emphasis on "our" is killing me. What's the story here? Did some other news station steal their story? There's a link that's supposed to lead you to the other story in question, but that link is dead. I threw it in the Wayback Machine, and it's simply just another story involving a 2-year-old getting stuck in the claw machine, so nothing like that crazy. Anyway, the mom in this case kinda kills me. Quote, if somebody had pulled on his legs on the way out, it could have crushed his windpipe. The company that makes these machines need to look at their design. As we found out, if you try and pull the kids out the slot, the door comes down, cutting into their body. Or, pay attention to your kid? Now, obviously this sounds terrifying, and of course I'm happy the boy left with no serious injuries, but also, like, kids aren't really supposed to be climbing into the machine. I think the claw machine programmers and makers trust that an adult will make sure that the kid doesn't get far enough into the chute for it to become dangerous. But I mean, shit happens, I guess. And it clearly shit happens because we're not even close to being done yet. And I honestly can't really blame the parents 100%, as this must be something that happens so fast. And there are countless cases of this exact same thing happening. I mean, countless. Countless. I'm still probably putting pictures on the screen right now. I'm sure. I bet I'm not even done right now as I'm speaking. However, it has happened enough where I would imagine parents kind of taking the hint and maybe paying like a bit more attention to their kid when they're playing this freaking game. I don't know. I'm not a parent. I feel like the incident I've seen the most online when referencing kids getting stuck inside claw machines would be this one. I believe it was originally from a tweet back in 2017, and I even stumbled upon a short clip of it as well. I think this one went so viral due to the kid's reaction, and I can definitely relate to the immediate regret he's surely experiencing here. Anyway, this is not something that ever really stopped happening. Just last month, 2 different toddlers got stuck in the same machine just a few weeks apart. But something I was so shocked to stumble upon was an article from 2023 describing a 13-year-old boy who got stuck in one of these things. This definitely looks like a bigger claw machine, so I guess it makes more sense, but this photo is killing me, honestly. Bro wanted that boba tea squishmallow bad. Anyway, thankfully, I've never come across any of these stories that have resulted in children getting severely hurt or anything worse, so that's great to hear, and this is all pretty lighthearted to talk about. However, kids aren't the only living things that have found themselves in these machines. Unfortunately, there are several cases over the years in several different countries that have used live animals as claw machine prizes. Trigger warning for this section, we're going to be discussing animal cruelty. Mostly we'll be touching on cases where animals are put in stressful, uncomfortable, and scary situations, but there's nothing necessarily graphic in this section, but it will piss you off probably, so feel free to skip to the timestamp if you're not interested. This terrible trend seemingly began in the early 2010s. The first report I was able to find of live animals being used as claw machine gifts was from 2010 with this lobster display. These machines were located in multiple establishments across California, and the rules were, if you catch it, we cook it. I would say at first glance, I didn't see how this is much different from going to the supermarket, picking out a lobster, and cooking it at home, but making it into this weird, sick game was honestly kind of sad to read about. Lobsters aren't stupid, and they would begin to catch on that getting picked up by the claw meant bad news, and were probably faced with continuous fear and anxiety on the daily. OC Weekly says, the lobster, however, had different ideas and was not particularly inclined to go softly into the boiling pot. It struggled as it was lifted out of the water, managed to free itself, and fell backwards onto its tank mates, which promptly started fighting with the near victim. The second time the claw went down, all the lobsters scooted to the other side, piling on top of each other more than halfway to the top of the waterline, as far away from the white, gripping hand of death as they could get. However, there had also been safety concerns as well. One Massachusetts restaurant had their lobster claw machine taken away for not meeting the food code. Thankfully, although these machines are still around, they are pretty far and few between. Minnesota, a state once filled with these lobster claw machines, is only down to 1 location right now. Hopefully we'll see the complete death of this in the future, because it's honestly just unnecessary. However, seafood restaurant claw machines have not been limited to just lobsters. Many restaurants over the years have found themselves in hot water for providing the crane game with live crabs that, if won, they'll be cooked for you on the spot. This has been seen more recently in Singapore. But unfortunately, the cruelty doesn't stop at customers catching their own food. Real living animals have been provided as claw machine prizes in carnival and arcade-like settings, for those who win to take them home. Over time, in the US at least, certain states have banned giving away pets as prizes. This is why it's not often you really see fish being given away at the carnival in those little baggies, you know? Thank God, because that's just freaking ridiculous. In fact, as of 2026, 27 states have created laws against giving away animals as prizes in games or raffles. This is honestly really great to hear. However, that means there are still circumstances in which in the US, you could win an animal, specifically in this case, in a claw machine. Fairly recently, typically found in China, but in this case also found in Texas, we have seen fish claw machines. Pretty much exactly how it sounds. Placed in arcades, kids can win fish through the crane game. The reason we see the most stories like this in China is unfortunately because there aren't any nationwide animal welfare laws protecting small animals. Because of that, the only way to really get these companies to stop using small animals as props and prizes is through public backlash. That leads us to the story that makes me the most angry, and that's just because I'm a hamster owner and hamster lover. This was actually reported last month when a game center in Shenzhen, China was put on blast for using real living hamsters as claw machine prizes. This actually makes my blood boil because all of these are horrible, right? But I only know exactly how horrible this is because I know a bit about hamsters, and I'm sure I don't even know the half of it. But I know how horrible this is in so many freaking different ways. One, I'm getting upset. Hamsters are solitary animals. They don't typically like to hang out with each other. So being grouped together like this is not the greatest idea. You'll typically see multiple hamsters in one cage only if they are still pretty young. I believe it's around 6 weeks-ish that they're old enough to start getting territorial and angry, and they could fight and kill each other, or they could also have babies. It's just like a whole thing, okay? And I only mention this because I seriously doubt this place is like looking into the ages of these hamsters, you know what I mean? They don't even care about them at all, and you'll see even more evidence of how they don't care about these hamsters in a bit. 2, hamsters cannot see very well. This is a part of the reason why they're nocturnal. They see better at night, and honestly, they typically use their scent to know what's around and their sense of memory, really, to get around. And they also don't really do well with loud noises and lots of people. And so to be in an arcade setting with flashing lights and lots of music and people pointing at them, like, that's just so scary for them. 3, this is the worst part, honestly. It was reported that the store was closed during the Spring Festival holiday, so no employees stayed back to make sure the hamsters were being fed. The Spring Festival holiday this year was 9 days. 9 fucking days. These hamsters were left alone. This honestly makes me want to cry, and from the bottom of my heart, I mean this so much. Fuck this place. Fuck this place. 4, I don't even know, the obvious. A giant claw continuously coming towards you to grab you is scary. Like, you don't even need to know all that other stuff about hamsters to know that that's scary for them. There are so many different reasons why this is so fucking disgusting and inhumane. There's a reason why so many places have cracked down on giving small animals out willy-nilly, and that's because pets are not toys. We see a lot of this with small animals like fish, rodents, reptiles, etc. Because these animals are small, they're treated like their life isn't worth living, and often as good starter pets, you know? That's why hamsters are often given to small children who are far too young to understand that kind of responsibility, and it's not the kid's fault, and in some ways it's not even the customer or the parent's fault because there's so much misinformation around owning small animals. This is why a lot of people who were gifted a hamster as a small child has a hamster horror story in which their pet died in crazy circumstances. This isn't supposed to happen. Like, that isn't just something that happens because they're hamsters. I've never had a hamster die in a crazy way because I wasn't given one at 7 years old, you know? Anyway, that's like the last reason I think this is so horrible. But even if they weren't exposed to this crazy, stressful, scary situation, simply giving out small animals to children who don't have the resources or knowledge to properly take care of them is just really irresponsible, and I think we need to stop doing that. And this goes for every animal I talked about in this video. Obviously, I'm going to bat for the hamsters just because I know more about them. Anyway, back to the story. So sorry for getting a little emotional. I just love hamsters so much. This arcade rightfully received a ton of backlash, and they shut down the hamster crane game. However, the hamsters were replaced with turtles and fish. me when I show up to the not getting the fucking point contest, and my opponent is the Yukong City Arcade in Shenzhen, China. Supposedly, they ended up getting rid of that one too, but this is such a big problem right now. Several arcades in China have promoted their hamster claw machines, and it's honestly really upsetting to watch. It's nothing graphic, but I honestly don't even want to show the videos here because it just makes me so sad. Citizens have attempted to report this abuse, which is great, but unfortunately, with there not being any strict laws in place to prevent this, there's not really much that'll be done. Anyway, moving on from hamsters, there have been several hoaxes, or at the very least, questionable rumors regarding arcades using cats and dogs as prizes in the crane game. This video, for instance, has gone around on social media since 2017, taking place again in China. Although it looks pretty real, it allegedly has been confirmed that it was a setup for an advertisement. Still looks like the cats aren't loving it though. Another unconfirmed video from 2019 shows a bunch of puppies being used as crane game prizes. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. I feel like it looks a little fake. Maybe that's just my wishful thinking because I hate to think about any of these actually being legit. Anyway, on a much lighter note, there have actually been some cases involving animals finding their way into arcade crane game machines. In 2024, kids playing the crane game noticed one of the plushies moving. Lo and behold, this was a young groundhog who found himself inside the machine after wandering into the arcade unnoticed. These freaking pictures are frying me. Anyway, the groundhog was safely removed and released nearby, so all was good here. It's also important to note that several cats have been found chillin' in claw machines over the years. Yes, most of them are orange. Anyway, enough with the animals. That was a lot. Let's move on to something really interesting, which is the rarest claw machine prizes. Let's get into the rarest, most sought after, and most obscure claw machine plushies and trinkets that were only available by winning them in the crane game. Animal Crossing 2001. Back in 2001, when the original Animal Crossing called Dobotsu no Mori came out, plush versions of the villagers and NPCs were made available. These official plushies were only obtainable through UFO machines in Japan. This section will be pretty much made entirely out of UFO machine plushies, so these are all from Japan. These collectibles are incredibly rare for so many different reasons. One being the obvious, only being available in Japan, and also the plushies not being sold regularly in stores. Even if you had the money and wanted one of these, the chances of actually winning one were most likely pretty low. As mentioned in this video by 8-Bit Max Gaming, the plushies have really small bodies and big heads, which probably made them that much harder to get a firm grasp on. Another reason why these plushies are so far and few between is due to the fact that they came out in 2001, the same year the franchise debuted. Chances are many people walked by these UFO machines filled with Animal Crossing plushies, having never even heard of the game. However, the crane game wasn't the only way you could obtain one after all. Apparently, for a short period back in 2001, you could purchase one of these plushies on the official Nintendo website. Finding one of these nowadays for a decent price is almost impossible. If you find one on eBay, you'll probably end up spending from $300 to over $1,000 depending on the plush. I've noticed the hardest to find characters out of the collection are Kiki and Tangy. I'm not really sure why, but I'd imagine over the years the cat lovers snagged them all. The cat villagers are pretty popular after all. Anyway, I love these things. They look so well made and they definitely seem like lots of love was put into them. So does anyone out there have one of these guys? Ocarina of Time plushies. Continuing the theme of video game plushies, this Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time release is also considered very rare today. Released around 1998 as prizes in UFO catcher machines in Japan, these 5 plushies were manufactured by Takara, and we will actually be talking about them again later. This line was likely to promote the game's release that same year. You'll typically find a Zelda or Link doll for around $100 to $300, but by far the rarest in the bunch is Ganondorf, who goes for around $1,000. Super Monkey Ball. One of my fairly recent favorite hyperfixations has been Super Monkey Ball. Upon falling in love with these little guys, naturally, I wanted a plush. However, it didn't take long to realize just how rare and expensive the good ones are. I now know that's because most of these great quality plushies that look just like their in-game counterparts were made available, you guessed it, in UFO machines in Japan. Both the 2001 and 2002 line of Super Monkey Ball UFO prize plushies genuinely have me foaming at the frickin' mouth. In 2002, jumbo 14-inch plushies were released of both Ai and Mimi holding Dole bananas. These have to be my favorite of the bunch. They genuinely look so good. I can't explain it. I'm noticing a pattern that these UFO machine plushies are extremely well made. Genuinely, the Animal Crossing and Super Monkey Ball plushies literally make me feel like I'm looking directly at the characters in-game. It's wild, and I don't know if I've ever seen a plushie look that similar to their in-game counterpart. Like, it's freaking crazy. And it's just so nice to see so much effort put into the quality of these things, as great quality is not necessarily something that comes to mind when thinking of claw machine toys. I guess the early 2000s were just built different. Anyway, these plushies are not only highly sought after, but pretty rare. Although I've seen some crazy prices for some of these, I've also seen some more reasonable ones as well. However, I have yet to see another early 2000s baby plush listed anywhere. Azumanga Daioh. If you don't know Azumanga Daioh, yes you do.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Fine, thank you.
Oh my god!
I wish I were a bird.
This anime actually has a good amount of merchandise only available in Sega UFO catchers, including these absolutely chaotic looking plush slippers from 2002. Some normal plushies were available as well, and those typically go for around $80 to $300. They also released super jumbo versions of some of the characters, and these are extremely sought after and expensive as hell. I've seen them go for around $400 to $500. They're so freaking cute though. Super Mario RPG. So, it's possible the set we're discussing here has the rarest UFO plush I've ever seen at least. The Takara Super Mario RPG plush set, created back around 1995 or 1996 to promote the Super Mario RPG game, and were only available through the UFO catcher game in Japan, included 6 characters: Mario, Yoshi, Boshi, a power mushroom, a superstar, and Mallow. Every single one of these plushies will most likely have you spending at the very least a couple $100s, and at the very most, tens of thousands. You heard me correct. Typically for most of these plushies like Mario and Yoshi, you'll see them go for a couple $1,000s, which is still a ton, but crazy. Even the less popular of the bunch, like the Star and Mushroom, are still listed for pretty insane prices. The second most sought after plush would probably be Boshi, as I believe this is actually the only official piece of Boshi merchandise. I could be wrong though. Even customs for this guy are extremely expensive. However, by far the most sought after, expensive, and mysterious plush in this set is Mallow. So what's extra interesting here is that this set actually remained a mystery for over 10 years. No one actually knew what plushies were officially included, as an official photo didn't resurface until 2020. With that, for over a decade, only one photo existed of the Mallow plush as a Yahoo Japan auction listing back in the year 2000, leading some collectors to believe maybe it was some kind of custom. However, 16 years later in 2016, another listing appeared of the same Mallow on Yahoo Japan auctions, basically confirming this was an official plush included in the Super Mario RPG set. We'd have to wait another few years to see another new listing of Mallow in 2020. At this point, all 3 of these Mallows had gone to unknown bidders. Actually, the second listing from 2016 was actually mysteriously taken down before it was ever sold. However, in July of 2021, we would finally see a listing in which we have information on the winner. A user who goes by the name of Dio purchased this plush on an eBay listing for $22,100 USD. Over $20,000. $1,000 on this guy. Honestly, I could laugh at this dude for spending that much money on a plushie, but I'm jealous. At the end of the day, Dio has Mallow and I don't. Anyway, there are so many more rare UFO plushies I could talk about here, but I'm definitely saving some for a rarest girly merchandise and consoles video soon, if you guys are interested anyway, so definitely let me know if you'd like to see that and keep an eye out. Anyway, with that, let's go over my favorite rare UFO catcher plush. So the one I'm most excited to talk about is the 2005 Sonic X Cheese Chow plush. This I have the craziest story for. If you're a subscriber, you might already know this story, but when I was a kid, I loved Sonic Adventure 2, the game, and a part of the reason why I loved it so much was because of the Chow. We called them KOs because we were illiterate. Anyway, I wanted a Chow plush so freaking bad, but these things just did not exist, at least in the US. I don't know, maybe they did, but nowhere we went had them. So my dad did what we never did at the time, which was ordering online. I don't know if you can relate, but in the early 2000s, we were not ordering shit. Like nowadays, we order everything, but back then, 2005, we weren't doing that. Like, it was something you did on a very, very rare occasion, only if you could not find it in stores. Anyway, my dad must have gone on eBay or something like that and just ordered this Chow plushie. It took forever to get here, but it finally did, and I actually went through a bit of trouble in the last few years because I couldn't find it, but I finally did, and if you notice, he's back there, so let's go get him. So, when I was doing my Chow deep dive, it's still on my channel, it's one of my favorite videos I've ever done, please go watch it. I was trying to look for this little guy, and I was like, you know what, I can't find him right now, he must be in the basement or something, let me look him up. Turns out, this little guy is super freaking rare. He was only ever sold in Japan, but he wasn't even sold. You could only get this Sonic X Chow by winning it in a UFO catcher machine. So somebody won this thing in a claw machine and sold it to my dad online in 2005. And this thing is actually pretty freaking rare. Like, it's definitely not the rarest thing we'll be talking about today, but the fact that it was only sold in Japan and it wasn't even sold, you had to win it, makes it that much rarer. He kind of got a little effed up. My mom had to sew his little emote ball back on, and I think she had to sew his arm back on too. But besides that, oh, and he has no tail anymore. But besides that, he's in great shape, and I'm just so happy to have this thing back in my life now. In fact, this entire Sonic X UFO plush set is considered extremely rare, and I mean, I have seen almost all of these plushies go for hundreds to thousands of dollars. So that's about it for this week's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below how you feel about this entire thing. This was really fun to put together. I also really wanted to show you guys, one of my subscribers sent me this in my P.O. box, handmade for Flurry. There are little Calico Critter stickers, this little bunny made with seemingly Pixos, or that's how I remember them. Oh my god, so cute! And also a little baby calico critter. Are you kidding? So thank you so much to this subscriber. I literally have been carrying this everywhere with me. And let me know if there's any other deep dives you'd like me to do. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!